Okay, so hello everybody, and thank you for joining us today for our Good Technology webinar. Today we'll be joined by Adrian Stacey from Good Technology, John Whiteoak from Aslan, and Helen Murphy here at Byte Software Services.
Thank you, Sarah. Good morning, everyone. Thanks again for joining the webinar. So my name's Helen Murphy. I look after the Byte and Good relationship. So as well as highlighting the points on this slide, I just wanted to explain the reason for today's webinar. So there's been a lot of uncertainty around the stability of BlackBerry, and we are finding more and more of our customers wanting to move away from corporately owned BlackBerries and looking for a new way to manage other mobile devices. So we wanted to give you the opportunity to learn more about the Good solution, and I will shortly hand over to Adrian Stacey from Good Technology to go through this in more detail. We also have John Whiteoak, who's our technical sales associate from our specialized distribution partner Aslan, who will be going through a live demo with you. So without further ado, I'll now pass over to Adrian.
Hi guys. So let me just sort the screen out. So I'm hoping everyone can see my screen okay. So first of all, thanks very much for taking the time to join us on this WebEx this morning. As Helen stated, you know, there's been quite a bit of uncertainty in the marketplace around obviously the sort of the evolving and changing world of RIM and BlackBerry in terms of, you know, what their position is and, you know, whether they're financially stable anymore, or indeed, you know, what their actually go-to-market strategy is around mobile, you know, for being such a dominant player over the last, you know, 15 years or so. You know, it's something that is at the top of every IT department and CIO's agenda to make sure that there's a sort of an evolution, a path to follow in terms of not only just, you know, migrating away from BlackBerry, but also ensuring that there's a mobility strategy that actually services the company's needs. So without further ado, I'll kick off. So if we go back sort of 6 years or so, I mean, life is pretty simple, to be honest. It was pretty easy, and in all fairness, it actually looked pretty good. You know, there's, if in terms of a mobility strategy within an organization, within corporate reliable devices, it was pretty easy to, you know, turn up to work in the morning or, you know, start a new job, and one of the first things that would happen is you'd be given a BlackBerry device. You know, this BlackBerry device was secure, is encrypted, had accreditation, but also it also gave a huge amount of functionality to the users. You know, there's obviously very intrinsic email and calendar options. There's also a huge amount of applications that are actually available for the BlackBerry platform. But unfortunately, we've come forward 6 years or so. It's pretty easy to see things have actually changed. Security, however, is still at the forefront of this change. If we look at the devices, particularly iPhones and Android devices, there's a real intrinsic problem around security. There's a good reason for that. They are consumer devices at heart. These devices have been designed to share information, whether it be personal, corporate, with other devices, cloud-based solutions. And that's become even more of an issue since recent upgrades, particularly of iOS 7. I don't know if you're the only one, but I certainly noticed when I upgraded my iPhone to iOS 7, the whole upgrade seemed to be around sharing information with Facebook, with Twitter, and now you've got AirDrop as well, where you can just constantly give information across to other people and other parties. And that's great, obviously, for a consumer phone and for personal use. You know, we all want to share that information, and this is why these devices have been designed that way. But when you put that device into the enterprise and into the corporate world, you know, that's where you start to see, you know, severe security challenges. Now, there's one part of the iOS platform is something called Keychain. I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but if you enable Keychain within that device, this is an area where all your passwords are effectively stored. So, for example, if you've got or you're currently using or looking at an MDM platform, You've got your simple 4key code, or whatever code you define by policy to put in there. It only takes 60 seconds to be able to hack that device, gain access to that keychain, where you can then gain access to exchange credentials, Wi-Fi, personal passwords, and this is something that we've actually shown on a video, and you can actually look at that video on our good YouTube channel. I think it's actually called Gone in 60 Seconds because we actually managed to get all that information out of the device within that 60 seconds. So, looking at the new world, things have actually changed, but have they changed for the better? We've got these new operating systems, like I say, these consumer devices have forced their way into the enterprise, but great for consumers, but not so great for the corporate world. So, where are we hearing the information about BlackBerry? It's fair to say that, although BlackBerry has been dominant over the last 15 years, now is the time where other people have come into the marketplace. Apple, Android, Windows Mobile is very prominent now. And BlackBerry just don't have the force that they used to have. They don't have, unfortunately, the devices which seem to be the driver behind it. The consumerization of IT really took them by surprise. They were slow to react, unfortunately. So the Gartner reports and analysts are actually proactively stating that you should revisit your relationship with BlackBerry and make sure that you're getting regular updates every 3 months. The most killing point, though, really, is that all BlackBerry organizations must decide on a new course of action, including options we lay out in this analysis. And this information from Gartner is available online. So that really does bring into the forefront of the mind. So is this a perfect opportunity to start looking at a mobility strategy, maybe something that is actually going to be able to leverage more productive workforces? Is it going to give productivity gains? We recently ran a study at Good in the UK and US, and in the UK, through consumerization of IT, BYD and choose your own device, which is now coming to the picture, or CYOD, we're looking at an additional 14 days of productivity gains per person per annum. So what does BlackBerry, the transition away from BlackBerry, actually mean? Well, first of all, we've got a number of changes from a user perspective. It's all very well making that decision to migrate away from BlackBerry, but what is the impact on the user? We are seeing a lot of people that that are still very keen to keep hold of their BlackBerry in terms of that, the classic keyboard, for example, rather than moving to a touchscreen keyboard. And these people who've utilised this platform for the last 10 years or so, now having to move to platforms with touchscreens, a lot more applications that are available to them, and there is a learning process throughout all of that. We've also got the challenge of device ownership, from moving away from corporately owned devices to, like I said, bring your own device. Bring your own device has been one of the most disruptive initiatives that we've seen in the mobility market over the last decade. The fact that someone could actually be able to bring their own device into work, gain access to corporate systems, and utilize that device for their own personal or work use, scares a lot of people, and rightly so. Unless you have those relevant controls in place and the right strategy to be able to separate corporate versus personal data, you could have someone turn up on site, get straight onto the Wi-Fi, straight into the corporate network, email, calendar, all that corporate information. And do you really understand where that information is going? The fact that they've got iCloud enabled on their iPhone, for example, that's going to be backing up every time it hits a Wi-Fi spot. You're now potentially backing up corporate data onto someone's personal device, and maybe some would argue, even worse, Apple's data centers themselves. We've also got a change in operating system. Any organization that is looking to migrate away from BlackBerry needs to be able to now support a heterogeneous platform, particularly if you are looking to leverage a BYD initiative. So what does this mean? Does this mean that your support functionalities now need to get trained up on Windows, Android, and iOS? Or do we need to try and find a common platform which enables this same functionality of BlackBerry across all of these different platforms, but within a secure, contained approach? One of the things that sort of makes me laugh to a certain extent is when we talk about migrating away from BlackBerry in the new world in terms of mobility, iOS and Android. These are great devices. They're beautiful to use. They're very intuitive. They've got thousands and thousands of applications out there. But many, when you actually look at what the BlackBerry device and BlackBerry platform actually offered you, initially you may even think it'd be a bit of a back step. Very, very basic functionality, like being able to forward a calendar invite with an attachment, for example, or if you're scheduling a meeting out on the road, you want to be able to look at free busy lookup for that particular person when you're scheduling a meeting. None of this functionality is available on the native device, or indeed any other MDM solution that leverages the native functionality. And most importantly, when we look at users, the user base has changed in many organizations. It's not literally just the employees. More and more organizations are looking to bring contractors in on a short-term basis to manage and run projects. So does this mean that every time that contractor joins the organization that you give them a brand new phone with a brand new tariff? Obviously that is a very, very increasing cost model. If we had the ability to provide a secure container with access to corporate data, whether it be calendar, contacts, line of business applications, custom applications, if you could download or push those onto someone's own personal device, and when that contract is finished, we'd be able to retract those applications, and we'd make sure that we can completely wipe all the corporate data that was contained in those applications. That would seem as benefit. So when we look at the security challenges that were there, say, sort of 15 years ago, they're still there today. If anything, they're increasingly more. We had the BlackBerry solution, which was a CESG, FIPS accredited. The actual hardware itself was pretty much impossible to hack. It was almost like the perfect platform. However, with the advancement of technology, we've actually seemed to have gone and progressed to less technology, which was pretty crazy. And that's the same with applications as well. As I said earlier, most people, when they use a BlackBerry, they have great calendar contacts and the ability to edit documentation. They have the ability to schedule meetings out on the road, whereas the native functionality on an iPhone or an Android device just won't have that same enterprise feel, and it doesn't stack up in terms of the enterprise capability of what your users need. So good is different. So good is different in many ways from our competitors. For example, there's hopefully you can see on the screen right now. This is what we call a NOC-based architecture. It may look quite familiar to you guys who are obviously BlackBerry users. Well, there's a very good reason for that. It's the same architecture which BlackBerry use currently for their business and BlackBerry devices. What this actually means is, with a NOC-based architecture, it means that we can create an encrypted tunnel from the device all the way to the server, and all the information is interrogated at point. So this means that the Network Operations Center, which is really just a big relay to a certain extent, actually makes sure that your device or that device that's trying to connect into the network is actually the device it says it is. And it has no inbound ports. It's purely outbound initiated. And this is a big differentiator for us here at Good Technology, because all of our competition utilize Exchange Active Sync, which is okay. It can do the job. It means that you need to have file servers in the DMZ, and it means that there's a lot more services that's going to need to be able to lock down that architecture. But it doesn't give the flexibility and particularly the capability of a NOC-based architecture. And there's only 2 organizations globally within mobility that use that today, and that's us and RIM, BlackBerry, I should say. And the reason why we both use that is because we actually, as Good Technology, designed and patented that technology over 15 years ago and actually licensed that architecture to RIM. So for many of you that are actually on this call today, you're actually using part of Good Technology's patented technology anyway. Another area to focus on really is around the actual accreditations. We already saw earlier from the initial slide that BlackBerry is highly accredited. It has FIPS 140-2, which so does Good. And Good is actually currently the only common criteria EAL4+ certified architecture. for iOS and Android. So that's outside of BlackBerry, we're the only people that have that accreditation. Again, if you're looking at CESG, for example, you may be a public sector organization. CESG is published guidelines on the specific use of good in terms of good for enterprise and good dynamics, our platform, which I'll come on to a bit later. We are the only organizations that have these accreditations within the mobility market outside of BlackBerry. So when we look at the actual, what is good, I suppose, is the piece here, you know. Well, good is a platform. It's good technology, provides a number of applications which have been designed and engineered by good technology. For example, good collaboration suite. Good collaboration suite features a number of applications within that. So you've got Good for Enterprise, which is typically email, calendar, contacts. You've got Good Connect, which is instant messaging and presence, and then you've got Good Share, which is a good technology app which enables SharePoint access and also access to Mac drives. And this is one of the areas you're going to see in the demonstration coming up in the next few minutes. We've also got our ISV and partner ecosystem, which is all designed on the Good Dynamics platform. I shall come in the next slide. You'll be able to see the kinds of applications that have been designed on this platform. And this platform is open to all ISV and software vendors. So that's why we have, for example, like EMC, DocuSign, HP, organizations like that actively developing their go-to-market applications in a secure manner with that Good Dynamics platform. But for me, the real value in our Good Dynamics platform actually comes with that custom app development. There is no reason why, and we see many organizations now doing this, of actually designing and migrating their line of business applications internally and mobilizing these so they can give access to their road users or to people out on different sites the same experience that they do if they were there at their desktop. They're mobile, they can have instant access, they don't have to go back to the office to carry out these tasks. They've got these line of business applications right in the palm of their hands. So when we look at the applications that we basically need to do our job, you know, on a day-to-day basis, this is where we have that comparison with BlackBerry in terms of the collaboration suite. We have that email, calendar, contacts. We have tasks, secure browsing, instant messaging, and that SharePoint access. These are the basic functionalities which BlackBerry had and that still has today, but not on the devices, and not being able to leverage a bring your own device, choose your own device initiative. So when many people are looking to migrate away from BlackBerry and start using a competitive MDM solution or just native functionality on iOS devices, they suddenly realize that they can't do the things they used to do. Now, any mobility strategy or an initiative is an initiative, and it needs buy-in from people in order to support that. So if you're looking to reduce costs and leverage productivity by enabling a bring your own device strategy, you need your employees to buy into that. So we're just going to take a quick snapshot here of the currently good ISV ecosystem. All of these applications that you see here have been designed and enabled through our Good Dynamics platform. So we've got line of business applications here that will give you access to SharePoint, cloud storage, business intelligence applications, document editing. We've also got CRM applications as well. Good Technology is a partner with Salesforce, for example. If you're utilizing Salesforce and their platform to design your applications on that, that is now supported through Good Technology as well. And what John is going to be able to show you now through our demo is a demonstration on Collaboration Suite, but also really important here is around secure workflows. This is one of the USPs of Good Technology. All those ISV applications that you saw earlier and the Good Technology applications, they're all individual containers. But the important thing is they are authorized, and we create an encrypted tunnel from container to container. At no point is any information that does it ever leave an encrypted area, which is unique to us. other people or our competitors say that they can do this. What they have to do, they have to encrypt, decrypt, encrypt, decrypt as this information is passed. So it is at no point is it just fully ever encrypted. With good technology, we provide this encryption through a layer of these applications, which means that at no point is your data at risk. So at that point, I'm going to hand over to John Whiteoak, so he can give you a demonstration on the Good Collaboration Suite and the Good Dynamic applications.
Thanks, Adrian. Good morning, everybody. Thanks very much for your time. So, as Adrian said, my name's John Whiteoak. I'm going to run through a short demo of some of the features that Adrian's talked about around Good for Enterprise and some of the Good Dynamics-based third-party applications, and just run through a quick workflow demonstration of how content and data can be securely passed between applications that have been developed on Good, and how that can sort of optimize the mobile workforce on these type of devices. So this is my own personal iPad. So Good is ideal for bring your own device type strategy through the containerization of these secure applications. So these are sitting on my device. I can provision them from my IT, and they're all policies wrapped around them to define how these applications behave and how I access them. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open my Good for Enterprise application, which is the email, calendar and contact app. And the first thing it's going to do is go through and check, first of all, that I haven't broken any of the compliancy rules that may be wrapped around the policy for this application. But I also have to enter a password. So as Adrian mentioned, all of these applications sit inside encrypted containers on top of the device level encryption. So these encrypting containers are separate from the device level encryption. And the password that I enter is in a defined format by IT. So the IT admin for the Good solution defines what the password should look like, but the user sets the password up based on that definition when they first provision and install the application. So it's obviously checking my password. And the first thing you'll see when you open up is my email inbox. And one other thing you'll notice as well, with the Good application, it takes on the look and feel and the gestures and the usability of the underlying operating system that the application is stored on. So this is an iPad, so it looks like an iOS application. If it was an Android tablet, this would look like an Android application. And a Windows, if it was Windows Phone 8, it would look like a Windows Phone 8 application. So from a user perspective, it's really intuitive, it's really easy to use. The amount of training that's required for a user to start using Good is minimal. If they're familiar with the device that it's installed on, then they will be up and running very, very quickly. So this is my email, and first thing I'll point out is if you look at the bottom of the screen, you'll see a number of icons, and all these icons relate to the functionality that's contained within the Good for Enterprise application. So we have a secure documents repository at the bottom here, where I can store locally on my iPad in the container documents that I've received via email as attachments, or if I'm using Good Share to access network file shares, I can take documents from there and store them on my Good for Enterprise application as well. So that's the secure documents folder. The calendar, again, is something that Adrian talked a lot about. This is an enterprise quality calendar. So you get all the functionality in here that you'd expect from a calendar. It effectively mirrors my Outlook calendar. So everything that I have in my Outlook calendar would be synced down to this device. Anything that I do in here, so for creating events or creating meetings or creating invitations, would also be synced back up to Outlook. So I have a complete view of everything that's going on when I'm on the move. I have a secure browser, which allows me secure access to my corporate intranet if I'm given the option to do that. And obviously you can see it's asking for some credentials because I'm accessing a resource behind the firewall. And then it also has contacts in here as well, which are my secure, which are my local Outlook contacts, which I've created myself, which is synchronized down to my device. I can also create contacts in there which will be synchronized back up to Outlook as well. So, and finally, the sub-preferences where the user can customize the look and feel of the application. So the order of the icons at the bottom can be changed. I can set up email preferences. So one of the things that I can do in Good Friends Prize is set an out of office message and type in a response so that you know, when I'm out of reach of email, I can set that to let people know. That's not something you could generally do in the native applications on these devices. And I can also add a signature to the bottom of the emails, which will get added to every email as it's sent out. So just going back to email there. So this is my inbox. It will be synchronized up as emails are sent to me into Exchange or Notes if you're a Notes user. It will also, obviously, if I send email from here, synchronize that back up through to Exchange and send it out through there as well. And you can see down the left-hand side, there's various symbols against the emails that denoting whether it's a priority email, if it's got an attachment associated with it or attached to that email, or if on that top mail where I've replied or forwarded on an email, so I can see very easily what activities happened or what's associated with that email. What I'm also able to do is filter and sort my emails. So I can filter them by sender, I can filter them by subject, etc. So I could filter them by priority only, so I can just see my high priority emails really quickly. So I can get a really flexible view of my emails. What I also can do as well is Good for Enterprise will synchronize with all the subfolders and folders that I may use in my Outlook client. But one thing that it doesn't do will automatically actually bring down the contents of that folder. That's a feature to obviously prevent unwanted emails or unnecessary emails being synchronized down and stored on the device. Also optimizes bandwidth and that kind of thing as well. So I can actually determine which additional folders outside my inbox I want to subscribe to or synchronize down to my device, which is quite a useful feature. Okay, so on one of these emails here, I have an attachment. And the way attachments behave with Good is when I receive an email, they're not automatically downloaded to the device. So I can see the name and size and type of file, but it won't actually bring it down to the device until I click the Tap to Download button. So this is one I've already downloaded. So when I do that, it will download the document and then I can open it. So at the moment, all this has done is allowed me to view the contents of that attachment. And the attachment support is based on the support of the device reader or the native device reader associated with the operating system. So this is iOS reader. So any document formats that iOS reader can open and allow you to view will be supported by the Good viewer. So the other thing this hasn't done yet is saved it locally to my device. It's just opened it into the secure container cache. But I can save this document to my local documents repository. So if I click Save on there, then click Done, I now have that document saved locally on my device for viewing offline. So Good is excellent, can be used when you don't have an internet connection. So I can do email management, creation, deletion, refiling without having to be online. And when I do then get an internet connection, whether via 3G or Wi-Fi or whatever, any changes that I make will be synchronized back up to my email system or Exchange or Notes, whatever you're using. So that includes sending emails. So I can actually send emails when I'm offline, but they won't get sent until I do get an internet connection. So this document is stored locally now on my device. So within Good for Enterprise, I'm actually unable to edit this document currently from here, but through the use of secure applications, so these are secure third-party applications which have been developed on top of the Good Dynamics platform that Adrian was talking about, I can now get access via policy to a number of applications that will allow me to edit or manipulate this content. So as I mentioned, because the applications that I have access to are all determined by a whitelist policy that IT set up, if I try to open it in an application that isn't authorized or is non-secure, so it's a consumer type application that has access to connectors out to cloud services such as iCloud or Dropbox that my organization don't want me to send data to, it will block that application from opening this content, as you can see here. So fortunately I do have a number of applications that I can use. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open this document in an application called Polaris. So this application is actually generally available as a prosumer application for purchase off the App Store or Play, but there's also a Good Dynamics version of it which has had all those cloud connectors stripped out of it, and it's been wrapped into the Good container. So it's fully encrypted, it's surrounded by policy. Any contents that are held within this container locally on the device can be remote wiped by my admin, and they can also remove access to this application as well. So as Adrian mentioned, if I was a temporary employee that had access to this stuff, once I'd left, my access to it would be revoked, and all the content that I'd saved in here would be removed by admin. So I can add something to here, so I'll just reply slip from, just put my name in just so that we can see the changes that I make. So this is a document that I will eventually need to sign and send back to HR, for instance. So what I will do is I will save this document first of all. So I will save it, I'll give it a name, I'll save it into the local folder. So now this document is actually been saved locally into this secure container. So what I can now do is I could open this in a separate another third-party application. In this case I'm going to use DocuSign. So DocuSign is an electronic signing tool. So, oops, yes, I did open the right one there. So it's now opening that secure app, and as Adrian mentioned, at no time during the transfer of that document between Good for Enterprise and Polaris and DocuSign has that content been decrypted. It remains encrypted as it's passed through, sort of effectively they're almost dedicated encryption tunnels between the applications. So I want to sign this document immediately using this secure electronic signing application. So it's just preparing the application. Effectively what it's doing at the moment is converting it into PDF, and it's setting up an electronic signing document for me. So I've now got this document in here, and I've pre-populated this app with my signature and some other information. So first of all, I'll just, if I can get to the right bit, I'll drag my signature down into the sign section. I'll just make that a little bit bigger so that it's easy to read. I will drop the date in, and it automatically pops the date field, populates the date field with the date of today's date. I will drop my name into there. So now I've electronically signed that that document. I can click finish. There's a number of things I can do here. I can either just finish and close and keep that document within DocuSign for use later, or I can finish and email it off to the person who requires the signed document. So now what it's doing is obviously encrypting or sending that document off to Good for Enterprise, and because this is a Good Dynamics application, it only actually allows me to open those documents within another Good Dynamics application. So you can see the applications in the Open In feature were only Good Dynamics applications. It wasn't the other applications that I may have stored on my iPad. So providing my IT is giving me access to those applications, those Good Dynamics applications, I can manipulate the content securely. So again, I've got a couple of things I can do here. I can either save this document locally to the Secure Documents folder, or I can send the file as an attachment directly via an email. So there's the attachment there, which is my signed document. One of the things Adrian talked about was the access to the Exchange global directory. So Good for Enterprise integrates into the global address book of your email system. So I'd want to send this to one of my HR people. So I'll start typing in the name, and it will go away and search my corporate directory for the person who I want to send this to, and then I just go through and I will select somebody. I'm not going to send this email, by the way, but so you can see the integration into the global address list allows me to easily find and email my colleagues and send documents off. If I wanted to add a local contact, I could do that by clicking on the plus sign there, and it will give me my open my contacts folder and allow me to select contacts to send that to as well. Okay, so this is another benefit of the Good application over the native email application that you get, is that I can add files for a number of sources to this email. So if I click on Add File here as an attachment, I can add folders, files from my Secure Documents folder within the application. So I could add a spreadsheet there, or as Adrian mentioned, Good Share, which is a good secure application for providing mobile access to network file shares or SharePoint repositories that I have behind my firewall. So if I open Good Share, it will go through and just check that I'm authenticated and authorized to use the application. So just to quickly explain while it's doing this, it's actually using Good for Enterprise as a delegate or authentication authority. So it's effectively using single sign-on. So I can select one of my Good applications as a single sign-on authority. So providing I'm signed into that application and authenticated properly, all of the other Good Dynamics applications I'm able to use will use that authentication to sign into themselves and authenticate. It just saves my users having to enter an individual password for each application that they may want to use. If I don't want to use single sign-on, I can enforce individual passwords for each application if I want to, but that's a policy setting. So here we are with Good Share. It's showing me my data sources that I have access to, and these data sources are the same network drives and SharePoint sites or repositories that I would have access to through my corporate credentials if I was to log onto my PC or my laptop. So all of my existing corporate permissions through Active Directory are maintained for my access to content within Good Share. And I can even tie that down a bit further by so if I have access to a number of shared drives with colleagues, and I also have a home drive on my network, I could just restrict this so that all I would be able to see would be my home drive. But again, that's a setting that you would use depending on what level of access and what amount of content you wanted to provide with your users. So I'll find another document here. I'll find a small one, and I will attach that from Good Share to my email. Okay. So now it's gone back into Good for Enterprise. It's transferred that document securely from a network file share in my data center to an attachment on an email, and you can see that it's there. So now I'll be ready to send that email off to Catherine, including my signed document, and we're ready to go. So as you can see, I've received an email with a form that needed signing as an attachment. I've opened it up securely in an office editing and creation tool, Polaris, to make some changes to it or to add some detail to it. I've then sent that securely to another secure electronic signing application called DocuSign, where I've added my signature and my name and my date, and I've sent it back to Good for Enterprise, where I've attached it to an email for sending off to the person that requested the signature on that document. I've then gone into Good Share from Good for Enterprise to add another maybe supporting documentation that I may have on a network drive and attach that as well. So we've completed a relatively straightforward workflow there securely through a number of different applications, all in a very straightforward way, all in a way that as a user experience users will be happy with and familiar with, because the apps use the look and feel of the underlying operating system, which they should be familiar with. But at no time has that content been at any risk from leaking outside of any of those containers, because the policies that I've wrapped around them have tied that down. And at any time, should the device be lost or stolen or the user leaves, the IT administrator can remove access to that content by remote wiping individually each application container, or they can just obviously revoke access to all of those applications so that they can't get access to that content either. Okay, so I'll just quickly go through the calendar now before I hand back over to Adrian. So as I said, it's a fully functioning calendar within Good for Enterprise. So I can create calendar invites for my colleagues and obviously external colleagues I may want to invite. So I set up a test event here, I'll give it a name. I can specify a location as well, so if I have an address where the meeting is taken place, I can put the postcode in, or I can put the full address in. And this is a useful feature which you'll see, especially where on the iPhone and the Android phone, because I can use that location to integrate into a Maps functionality on the tablet, so that if I then click on the location later on in the meeting, I can use it to direct me to where the meeting is due to take place. So one of the other features of this of Good for Enterprise in the calendar is something Adrian alluded to, the free busy lookup. So again, this isn't something that I can do on my native calendar or reminder app, but if I want to invite a colleague, so I'll invite Milton, who's one of my colleagues, to this event, and you can see it started looking for him on the global directory, but because he's also an internal colleague, it's checking his availability against his I'll try it. It could not determine his availability. That's not good, is it? Right, let me just cancel that one, and what I'll do is I'll do one on a day that I know is so what it will do is it will look at his availability against his calendar, and it will tell me whether or not he's available for that meeting in real time. So what it's not actually doing is showing me his calendar. It's just going away and interrogating his availability to tell me whether or not he's free on that date. Yeah. Okay. Maybe his availability is indeterminate. So if he was free, it would tell me he was free. If he was if he had another appointment at that time, then it would show me that he was unable. So what I can be there is flexible around the timings of my invitations based on the availability of the colleagues that I want to include in that meeting. So Milton's going to receive a test email from me. So as you can see down the right-hand side here on the iPad screen, I can actually see a list of the my appointments, and I can filter by months and view individual months. So what I'll do is I'll just open this this meeting that I set up, and as you can see there, it's got all those details. So this meeting will have been sent to Milton, and he'll be able to accept it or decline it as he sees fit. But what I can do, I can actually then, if I click on the location, and providing I've put in the details of that location, I can go and get directions using Google Maps. So it will then go away. So if I was on a phone, I could use the GPS functionality of the phone to direct me to to where my meeting is, so that if I've never been there before, I can find my way. So it's very useful functionality which you don't get with that integrates in with the calendar functionality, and something that as an enterprise user or a business user is very, very useful. Okay, so I've got a clear view of all my my meetings. I can view by day, I can view by week as well. So I've got certainly on the iPad, because of the screen estate that I have a view of any type of view that I want for my my calendar invites. So on that note, I think what I'll do is I will now hand over to Adrian, who's got a couple more slides to wrap up his presentation.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that, John. We're now just going to go to the Q&A, so if any of you do have any questions, then please do feel free to pop those into the questions box, which is on the right-hand side. We have had a couple of people that have already come through and asked some questions. So Adrian and John, if you can both just unmute your phones, and then we can go through and answer those, and obviously whoever's best suited can give their responses. So we've had a question here from Peter, who asks, can good MDM tooling provide EAL4+ separation between environments on a corporately provided device to allow end users a personal container, i.e. opposite way round to providing corporate space on a personal device?
Well, yes. Good is EAL4+ certified. It's one of the only third-party software solutions out there that there is. I think it's only Good and BlackBerry at the moment. But yes, that's precisely what Good does. Good is a containerized environment that allows total separation of corporate environments and access to corporate data from personal apps. So as an MDM solution on a bring your own device, or it would allow a user to use their consumer apps or their own personal apps and access their own content completely outside of control from the IT. So the IT admin for Good would only ever manage the Good applications. So if it was an MDM solution where it was on a full device profile, then yes, you would still deploy the separate containers for the Good applications, but you could then tie down, particularly on iOS, you could tie down the capabilities of the device around things like installing their own applications or disabling FaceTime and that kind of thing. So yes, it has an MDM capability built in, which still allows you to separate corporate and personal using the containerized applications, but would, if this was a PSN compliant type solution, then yes, you could deploy a device profile against a personal device, but keep the personal applications available to the users without any specific control by IT.
Okay, lovely, thank you. And another question is, does your email client integrate with any email archive solution in Exchange?
Good question. It does support Enterprise Vault archived content because it has a secure browser included. If you're providing web access to archived email, then it can be accessed from the secure browser. But it does, yes, it does support Enterprise Vault archiving. I'm not sure if it supports Exchange archiving. I'd have to look into that. But it does support some third-party archiving tools, or allows you to access email that's been archived using third-party archiving tools such as Enterprise Vault.
Okay, lovely. And a question here from Philip. How do you handle storage cards? Are apps and data sandboxed, or are storage cards blocked for use by default?
Okay, so storage cards would fall outside of the management of Good for Enterprise on Android if there wasn't a full device profile deployed to the device. So with the mobile device management side of things on Android, you can enforce encryption on the storage card that's in the device to make sure that anything that is stored on there is encrypted, or any corporate data that's stored on there is encrypted. But what you can't actually do is manage those storage cards explicitly, not using the MDM features within Good for Enterprise anyway.
Okay, lovely. And a question here from Ian. How are the different services licensed?
So I'll take that one. So effectively, there's a number of ways of purchasing Good for Enterprise or the licenses through Bytes. So effectively, you can license Good for Enterprise as a sole product, which is available on perpetual or subscription basis over a 12, 24, or 36-month term. The best way, without a doubt, and certainly the most cost-effective and functionality way, is around Good Collaboration Suite. So that's where you get the Good for Enterprise, Good Connect, and Good Share as well. So Good Collaboration Suite is licensed solely on a subscription basis, again 12, 24, and 36 months. But then there's also, if you want to be able to utilize Good Dynamics as well, then there's the individual applications and a license cost associated with that as well, which again is a subscription-based model.
Okay, lovely. And another question here from Erhan, who says, what is the difference between Good Share versus Mobile Echo or Acronis Access?
Okay, so Good Share is basically an access tool to give you secure corporate access to SharePoint or your network file shares, so your network home drive or any other shared drives you may have access to. Mobile Echo are, as far as I'm aware, is a file sync and share tool, a bit like an on-premise Dropbox or Box solution. So Good Share doesn't give you the ability to share links externally to content within your network file shares. You can share links to documents to internal colleagues, but Mobile Echo is a file sync and share tool, whereas Good Share is a secure tool to provide access to your internal network drive, so you've got access to content on there. But it doesn't give you, as far as that access to your network file shares are concerned, it doesn't give you any additional functionality around sharing that content that you would have from that file share.
Mobile Echo and Box and also available as Good Dynamic applications.
Yes, absolutely.
Too, so.
Yes. Yeah, so you can deliver a Mobile Echo solution securely to a mobile device using the Good Dynamics version of that mobile application.
Okay, lovely, thank you. And a question here from Daniel, who asks, why would I use Good instead of as well as giving users access to a virtual desktop via an app on the device, i.e. where is Good better?
Well, I would say Good is better because it gives you a native device experience on applications that are specifically developed for the operating system of that device. What you're delivering with a virtual desktop is basically the OS of the desktop that you're pushing out to the device. So it may not be optimized for use on that particular device. You know, I'm not saying they're not usable because you know there are plenty of people doing it that way, but the applications are specifically developed for the operating system that the device is running. So as you saw, the iOS version of Good for Enterprise is an iOS application. It works like an iOS application and is used like an iOS application. So that's the main reason. The other reason being as well is, you know, from an infrastructure point of view internally, Good is very, very light. It can be deployed on a couple of virtual machines. You know, the VDI infrastructure from your back end is, you know, if you already have it deployed, then that's fine. But if you're looking at pushing VDI out to your desktops as a new infrastructure, then you know, you're potentially looking at quite a lot of cost in your data center to do that.
Yeah, and it's also the offline capability as well. You know, I was actually in the plane going to the US a couple of weeks back, and I typed out a whole proposal, and then also sent it to Good Share, although it wouldn't, didn't upload initially. It was a pending file, so that meant I had that offline capability, which enabled me just to continue being productive and continue being able to work rather than having to rely on an internet connection.
Okay, lovely, thank you. And the final question is from Philip, who asks, have you taken into account Microsoft's upcoming ESP release?
That might need some elaboration on that. The straight answer would be no, because I'm not fully aware of exactly what the ESP release is, but that's probably just my own ignorance. So if the person that asked the question could sort of elaborate a little bit further, maybe separately we can provide an answer to that.
I think
offline.
we could happily sort of take that on offline and sort of work with the customer to answer that question in a detailed way.
Yep, of course. We can come back to you on that one, Philip. And then there is just one more question that's come through. Does Good do containerized apps for Chromebooks, Windows laptops, or MacBooks?
No. It's a mobile, it's iOS, Android at the moment for those third-party containerized applications. Good for Enterprise is supported on Windows Phone 8, but at the moment there aren't any third-party or other secure Good Dynamics type applications for Windows Phone 8 because it's still a work in progress. So currently it's iOS and Android.
I mean, it's also fair to say as well, though, because obviously as the mobile journey sort of continues, and the evolution of the devices and ultimately how we work, whether it be at home or in the office, we are, it's our long-term strategy to support those sort of devices going forward. But ultimately, we've obviously invested our time and our customers have invested their time in the development and the support of the iOS and Android platforms for the time being. But there's no reason to say that we wouldn't support those going forward as part of long-term strategy.
Okay, lovely. Well, that's all of the questions that have come through. So thank you very much, Adrian, and thank you very much, John, for supporting on the webinar today.